You all read, of course, the McKinsey study on the metaverse. How do you create value in that? The 70-some pages from McKinsey. Key quote here, and not just be at the mercy of the gatekeepers or a gatekeeper that takes all the profit away at the top. Also in this, of course, will be unlocked by open standards. This is all goodness and apple pie, but let me go back to that prior slide and not be at the mercy of the gatekeepers who take the profit away at the top. If you know about how consumer voice works, there are gatekeepers. If you know about how smart home works, there are gatekeepers. We're going to talk about gatekeepers and voice. Open metaverse, I would argue, but you're the experts, not me. Tell me why I'm wrong, is going to a large degree, to a meaningful degree, depend upon open voice. Let's talk about voice. Here's our situation. Voice is becoming normative. Now, again, when you go to the Austin airport and you're waiting for your flights, most people will be doing this in the prayer position and not this. Okay, I get that, we know that. But the move from this to this, and especially in non-public settings, is happening, and this is a transformation that is happening right now. There's an agency in London that studies voice and behavior, consumer behavior. How do people use it across 3 nations, States, UK, Germany? We take a look at this data. All adults, not just graduates with EEs. All adults, daily use, users, more than a third, daily use. Now, they're not shopping with it. They're not doing all kinds of, hanging from the ceiling type stuff with voice, but they are using voice. Whether it's to ask for music, tell jokes to the kids, get the weather in the morning, talk to their car, talk to their remote control. Question for you, is there more voice use in smart homes or on smart speakers? Is there more voice availability in smart cars than in smart speakers? Is there more voice availability in smartphones than smart speakers? The answer to all 3 is yes. If you define voice as Alexa, with all due respect, we need some re-education. This is on every digital device, appliances, refrigerators. Voice is a commonality, and this behavior is moving and driving in that direction. The remote control, how many of you have remote controls of your televisions at home? Put it on a shelf and put a frame around it, because it will be one of the great obsolete devices of the world. Put it next to your VHS in the basement. We'll be talking. We'll be talking. We will be talking to devices. You'll be talking to your laptops. This is the worldwide vision of the World Wide Voice Web. Most folks, when I have these conversations, I'm in boardrooms, I'm talking to groups like this, define voice here. General purpose apps, skills, actions, that's voice. Smart homes, worldwide, 258 million. Enough to claim the attention of the European Union about the role of voice in the smart home. We'll talk about that. That's smart speakers. Enterprise AI is growing in conversational AI, but the websites, IoT endpoints, AIs. When futurists at Arizona State University call me and they say, John, every AI will be conversational. Every AI will be conversational. whether by chat or by voice, every AI will be conversational, and then trillions of endpoints in the metaverse. This is the future of a worldwide, interoperable, open standards-based worldwide voice web. Keep in mind, as you type on your laptops, you are simply using a 19th century technology for 21st century communication. The era of QWERTY, not going to be over. God knows my typing class way back when still provides value. But we are moving from the QWERTY age to an age of much more open, inclusive, multilingual interaction with devices. This is going to be a huge part of what we consider the metaverse to be. Currently, in the enterprise and across the voice world, there's 4 basic value props, use cases. General consumer use, alarms, music, tell jokes to the kids, tell me the sports scores, how did my baseball team do last night? But in the enterprise, process automation rapidly growing, again, at a CAGR of roughly 20 to 25% per year. This is speaking into a Salesforce cloud-based enterprise application. This is voice listening to the meetings, giving you a transcript. This is using voice. As some have told us, it's the second richest source of human data, short of DNA, to understand sentiment, interest, doing research with voice data. Marketers who are now listening to your voice and the sentiment and the tone of your voice and saying, you know, if I connect you because of your voice, I connect you to this person in our call center, you're the closest match. My odds of getting you to say yes because you're doing the speaking have just gone up. And I do that in milliseconds. Hands-free in the surgical suite. Imagine sitting down and having a voice system listening to you and your physician, or you, your physician, and your aging parent. And here's a listing of what needs to be done. Here is the medical outline. Here's when you take the pills. Here's when you come back. And then, of course, data-driven insight. Voice is a channel, voice is a capability. Voice is going to be the interface for all of us in this new digital world that you guys were describing. I mentioned about data. Now, your question that you raised a moment ago, who owns the data? Who uses it? Is huge in voice. Because most of us think about, oh, it's the words, natural language processing, NLU. We have the words, we have the text. We can tell what intent is, what people want. But equally with the fingerprint, my voice, with some 99% accuracy, according to the Federal Bureau of Investigation, will identify this as John Stine. It's a biometric. If you read about biometrics in GDPR, voice is one of them. It's not mentioned, but it's one of them. Sentiment. Am I speaking angry, or am I speaking softly? Am I confused? I don't know what to do. What voice will tell you that? Cohort inference. Again, using the power of AI, you'll be able to tell that I am a white, generally, within reasons of accuracy, white, male, Midwestern. From my voice, you can be able to tell he grew up near Cincinnati, actually near Chicago. He uses these kind of words, so he probably has this kind of educational level and income level. And then biomarkers. schizophrenia, COVID, Parkinson's, my height and my weight, my body mass index. All understandable, all can have, these are leading indicators. Physicians now using this for early diagnosis of a number of physical and mental ailments. Remarkable data in your voice. Who owns it? Who captures it? Who uses it? Critical questions. Now, in the metaverse, again, you're the experts, I'm not. Voice will be a gateway into the metaverse. Gateways can be choke points. Gateways can be avenues, boulevards. Who will open or close the gateway to you? It's an interface. Social gaming, meetings. Why QWERTY? I'm in social gaming, I want to talk. I want to introduce myself. Authentication by your voice. We're working right now on voice-based authentication, password-free. Second factor, multi-factor, of course, but as a biometric and a biomarker, my computer uses facial. Use voice. Especially when you are in an environment in the metaverse where voice is your interface, voice is your gateway, you've come into this, you're using voice. And then the data-driven insight. So much richness of data in voice. If you are a gamer, if you're a gaming designer, if you're a gaming developer, and you want to know how they're responding, especially in a social environment type game, tremendous source of data. Now, this is McKinsey's model. Very quickly, and again, you've seen this from the white paper, where does voice fit? Time and time again, as we take a look at this, we say, my goodness, this is a critical part of this emerging metaverses, this emerging world. Doesn't get a whole lot of conversation, but it's an incredible part. From the interface to gateways in, and then security, it's not just PII, as I just mentioned. The data of voice in the wrong hands, enormously interesting. Voice-based authentication and then destination authentication for payment. Is it what it says it is? Because in this world, yes, charge it to this, PayPal it to this, ship it here. Yes, I want that token. Yes, I'll buy that NFT. We won't have time to QWERTY. We won't want to QWERTY. Here are the complications. If that's the situation, here are the complications. I've mentioned some of them already. We're halfway through, and I know I'm between you and lunch, so I'm going to be on time. Most of the general purpose platforms, and if those of you working for those, please know my respect for the leadership and the innovation you've brought to this market. You created the voice market. Thank you. But this is an issue of ownership. This is a question of being the gateway, of claiming the data. One of the major issues in voice right now is the relationship between enterprises who want to use voice to reach out to their customers and their concern about the use of data and the claiming of data by proprietary channels and platforms. That's this right now. Huge issue. It's not about the technology. We all love the technology. It's about data. It's the ownership of data. It's the economics of data use. Who claims, and right now, you've got to walk through the walled garden and pay the toll. Generally, the toll is data access. You pay with data. That is an unacceptable price. for most enterprises worldwide. That's also an issue if voice is an access point for the metaverse community will be facing. Now, consumer IoT. European Commission took a look at this, has been studying this for several years. There's all kinds of standards going on, standards development going on in smart home, consumer IoT. In fact, there's an organization that has just announced a number of standards, very exciting. However, that organization has not addressed the interoperability of voice. And so the gateway, the channel to the smart home, hey, turn it on, open the curtains, turn down the temperature. That data is still flowing to the ownership of the proprietary platform. If you want that to happen, God bless you. But it's a major issue. And yes, smart assistants, conversational assistants, are always listening. Of course they are, because that's what they do. That's how it works, as you know. The issue is not the listening, the issue is the logging. The issue is the claiming of the data. How much, when, how. This is the issue. Interoperability. There's lots of conversation about interoperability in voice. One definition of interoperability is, well, I can have this assistant and this assistant on the same piece of hardware, and if you want to, that's interoperable. You quit talking to one so you can start talking to the other. From a UX perspective, that doesn't work. You want to start with one and talk to all. You want to talk and start with one and talk and reach all. That's what you want in the metaverse. That's what we're working toward in the Open Voice Network. Solutions. Last 10 minutes. We collectively in this room, we need voice that works like the web. Now, that's an easy thing for a non-technologist to say. And you know, as technologists, that's not easy. But openness, interoperability, you move from one, I don't care what browser you're on, you can reach whatever website you wish. The alternative is we might as well just ship out AOL CDs. Sure. Voice that works like the web. And then this is what we're working on right now in the Open Voice Network. Interoperability of conversational assistants. Our first messaging protocols for review will be published in the next 2 weeks. We are hosting a global webinar virtual workshop on the 9th and 10th of November to this is what it is, this is what we're doing, here's our testing, this is what's going on. Taking a first big step toward that. We then, on a monthly cadence, we will be adding on issues of data privacy, data security, authentication, synthetic voice, to your point you made earlier. Privacy and security. We believe strongly your data is your data. It belongs to you. You're the creator. It belongs to you. You can share it if you wish. God bless you, that's great. But your data is your data. Destination and personal authentication, working on that. First protocols due Q1 2023. And then, because our hallmark, we describe ourselves as an organization that's dedicated to making voice worthy of user trust. Voice worthy of user trust. We have an ethical use team, has been studying the enormous documentation on ethical use, and AI and voice and the like, will be coming out yet this year with an enterprise checklist, a self-study guide, maturity model, call it what you will. This is what we're doing. This is what good looks like. This is what great looks like. How do you measure up? Check yourself. An open metaverse, we see, begins with open voice. We're the Open Voice Network. I'm John Stine, Executive Director. We'll have Birds of a Feather, I think, on Wednesday. Look forward to speaking with you, and thanks for listening. Appreciate it. We've got about 3 minutes for questions.
Hi. Do you see an overlap between what you're doing with voice and Neuralink?
The question is, do we see an overlap between what we're doing in voice and Neuralink? Help me understand better, Tony. I'm sorry.
Well, right now you hear the work that Elon Musk and team is doing, trying to have a neural interface to computers. From what I just understood from your discussion, you want to have an interface with voice. And is there an overlap between the two? And it seems like what you're doing is like an intermediate step to actually having a neural link with computers.
To the question, how does it fit with Neuralink and with really a neural relationship or a neural interface? And yes, we see ourselves on that path. His vision is this, our vision is this, but we do see ourselves on that path. And the next step for us is going to be, we say multimodal, to be defined as, is it touch, swipe, gesture? Because it's going to be much more if you're talking to your television, to your entertainment box, you'll speak to it, but you might do this to move programs around. Or you might say this to say, oh, for God, turn it off, whatever. So the roadmap that our board has adopted is voice first, and then moving to multimodal to be defined, which could be touch, swipe, but again, we know its gesture is out there. But again, moving in that direction. Great question. Thank you. Yeah.
TruePic is a company that's working on the authentication of images.
TruePic.
TruePic, yeah. The authentication of images, verifying that the image is generated from genuine photons. So it's a hardware company. Are you aware of any companies or initiatives that are looking at authenticating sound waves? So making sure that the audio files and MP3s, et cetera, that are generated from actual speech, so actual sound.
Question was, are you aware, John, of any companies that are doing study in authentication of sound waves? I am not fully cognizant of all that's behind the doors at Veritone. If you've heard of that company, they do a great deal of work in synthetic voice and some superior research lab guys, girls, that was horrible, men and women in Orange County. So I'm getting a lot of good guidance and advice from Veritone in that topic. We have reached out to 2 other early stage startups who are also working in that space, and I can share. I have to look up the names for you. Yeah, glad to. Again, yeah, question.
So first of all, huge supporter of open source, and I think that there's it's much needed in a world where platforms are kind of singular and being controlled by larger companies. At the same time, one of the biggest challenges that I've seen from different open source projects is that typically the average consumer goes towards the path of least resistance, and open source projects never seem to be on top of that kind of fit. What are some ways that you're basically helping to kind of ensure that that type of experience you could be seeing, right? Because you look at open source browsers, you look at open source, even some of the most popular design software that's open source. It's good, but compared to a for-profit company who's able to pump billions and billions of dollars against something, how do you compete?
Zachariah had a great question. How do you compete with open source, it's great ideas, but consumers may be slow or not adopt at all, versus the economic power driving adoption of, say, $1 billion brand. We are placing our bet, and it's a bet, on the interests and the needs of tier 1 enterprises, for whom the issue of reaching their constituents and of controlling their data is paramount. The consumer game has largely been won, and with applause for great work by Amazon, Apple, and Google, Deutsche Telekom, et cetera. It's been won. I don't see the Open Voice Network as going to be creating an open source thing resident on smartphones that is going to win hundreds of millions of adoptees. But if those who are developing conversational assistants for the enterprise, which is increasingly open and data protecting, then there is pressure for interoperability. And that's the bet we're making, is that we will win on the enterprise side. And again, with respect to the great work on the consumer side from those others, we talk about the Michelangelo moment. Can we create the Michelangelo moment? Here's the proprietary platforms. They need enterprise customers, connections, commerce happening. Here are the enterprises, and they need the constituents, but they don't want to give up their data. Can we create that which enables Sistine Chapel, right? You can see the image. The two come together. That's what we're working toward. Thank you. Great question. Time for lunch. Thank you all. Appreciate it.